Hi, teacher friends. Okay, so we're gonna jump right back into this here. In the last video, we started the conversation on differentiation. We know that you are either working virtually or you are having to work in a whole new way face-to-face, and that differentiation can be extremely difficult to implement right now. And so I just wanna talk you through maybe a different way to think about differentiation. So in the last video, we talked about context. I'm gonna throw up this slide again. We've broken differentiation into 3 parts: context, process, and product. You can definitely dive into this deeper in our Teacher Clarity for Student Success, where we go into lesson planning, and also in the monthly support called Clarity. But today we are going to look at the second part, which is the process. So when we're talking about differentiating the process, we're talking about the different learning modalities or ways that students process their learning. What I'm seeing happening, and it's not your fault, but what I'm seeing happening through a lot of virtual learning and through the students sitting in the class but still having to be on a device is the learning modalities are narrowing. So students are watching lectures, watching direct teach, maybe reading, maybe watching videos, and then they're expected to do a worksheet. This really narrows down the type of learning modalities that are being used. And so because of that, it's narrowing down how much the students are learning, especially in the first teach. And so when we differentiate the process, we are intentionally thinking about how we can incorporate the different learning modalities. So I think of these in a couple of different ways, right? We know we have auditory and visual and kinesthetic, kids that see, kids that hear, kids that do it by hand. We also have the 4 language domains: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Kids need to be reading about the topics, writing about the topics, listening to the topics, and speaking about the topics. And the more we can incorporate language, the better. Now, if you'll look back at some of our other videos, even things like repetition, using the total physical response, the TPR, those things increase that learning modality in very, very simple ways, which is another reason why those are so effective. This is another reason why we don't want to forget about cooperative learning, even though it looks different and it can be harder right now, because that is hitting a learning modality that is really impactful for a lot of our kids. What I also want to remind you of during this time, especially if you are a virtual teacher, I'm sure that you feel disconnected from your kids in a way, and well, how do I know if they're learning it if I don't take a grade on it? How can I make sure that they do it if I don't take a grade on it? I just want to encourage you not to fall into that mindset, because taking grades on things when kids aren't ready for things to be graded can be really detrimental to the learning process. If kids need time to have the productive struggle, if they need to have time to think through the new content, then it's okay to give them things to practice, to give them dialogue to have with a peer or in a virtual chat room that's not graded. Does it mean that everybody might not do it? Maybe. But for the ones that do, it's going to be more impactful for them if the effective filter is down, if they don't feel the pressure of the grade, and they can use what learning modality works best for them to think through the new learning. I hope that that makes sense. So let's go to our example from last time about Lewis and Clark. So we are wanting to talk about his expedition. There is virtual textbook that we have that the students can read. There are videos that they can see. There's even a rap song that talks about Lewis and Clark. And so when I can have the students read, when I can have them maybe listen to a letter that was from one of the explorers to the king, it could be fiction, but it still is from a different perspective. When I could have them actually map out the exploration route so they can see where it was that they were going. When I have them reenact the Native Americans and Lewis and Clark meeting for the first time and what that meeting must have been like, even if they are reenacting virtually, even if they write out a script, maybe you give them 15 minutes to say, what do you think that conversation was like? Write it out. doesn't have to be for a grade, and it doesn't have to be really extravagant. It just lets the kids use their different parts of their brain. Some kids are gonna gravitate to the different parts of the learning, and something's going to connect. So I just wanna encourage you, don't fall into the trap of using the same type of learning modality simply because you have to be virtual, or because you have to be virtual face-to-face, which seems like that's kind of the trend right now. You're creative, you're passionate, you've got this, you know your content. Use that creativity. We have a resource called 60 Activities for Thinking and Learning at Home for Teachers, and it is ways to get students who are home engaged, up, moving, thinking. And at the time that this video goes live, we're gonna have it for free. And so if you click the link that is offered on here, that's down below, then you can download that resource absolutely free. And whether or not you find 60 activities to use on there, I guarantee you'll find some. They go across content and across grade level. More than that, they're gonna spark your own creativity to get your kids up, moving, and thinking. We love you. We're here for you. On the next video, we're gonna talk about the product, which is the last piece of differentiation. And so we will see you there. Bye.